What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 13 of In Before the Lock, where we talk all things pinball and pinball mods. We are at ATOMIC PINBALL with Chuck Sanderson today in Woodriver, Illinois. Welcome, Chuck.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me.
Davey, how you doing?
Chuck, how's it going? I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm a bit tired today. I ran a half marathon yesterday, so pretty proud of myself. But I'm a bit tired tonight, so if I start flagging and falling asleep at the wheel, you guys will know why.
Literally in a marathon, or like a shorter version?
Half marathon. Half
Okay,
marathon.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Chuck, you've probably been running marathons, keeping this place up, huh?
Yeah, no, we've been busy. We've been a triathlon of repairs.
Yeah.
Learning a lot. Got into video games, stuff that we don't know anything about. So luckily we've got Brooksy here. He's taking care of some stuff for us. We've got a few volunteers that have helped out. It's slow. There's just not a market for people out there that can repair that stuff. So.
Yeah, man, I hear that. I mean, it's hard enough keeping our 4 or 5 games at home in repair, let alone these. So this place is amazing. I've been coming to ATOMIC for a while, originally called CP Pinball. Chuck's going to tell us a little bit about that. He's been nice enough today to get us access to John Wick, Elton, and Pulp. So we're going to be doing kind of a dive through of all the mods that are available for these games, which is very few and far between, but what some of the potential is. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about ATOMIC. This is in Woodriver, Illinois, which is just outside of St. Louis. Really cool, small town. They've got some great food around here too. And we've got like over 120 machines?
Try to keep 120 games on the floor. We've got about 5 games as backup in case something goes down. I thought it was going to be easy to go from 75 games to 125 games, but now we're at the point. New Stern comes in, what goes? Game show, Gorgar, just really hard to decide. So we've had a lot of extra stuff. Our clientele has really changed, as you'll see throughout the walkthrough here. We bought this building about 2.5 years ago, got a real good deal on it, and then had to throw a ton of money into it. So. Everything you do is about 80 grand a pop, so new flooring, 80 grand, roofs, 80 grand, electrical, 80 grand, heating and air, so it just all adds up. But this is our big room here. We've been able to put in, I'd say we have 70 games in this room. And this is kind of our premier room. It's where we keep most of our new Sterns.
And I heard you're 1 game away from having all the insider connected games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had the game, but we sold it in lieu of our old place. We just ran out of room.
Yeah.
Munsters wasn't getting a lot of love, but it'll be coming back in the next couple of weeks. So, in here it's easier for us to keep all of the Sterns connected online. For some reason, this room works the best. And it's where we have all the cables run. Everything is hardwired because we're not relying on the internet. People really enjoy being able to log in, track their progress, earn badges. To be honest, I've probably connected 5 times since the thing started. I wish I could play a game, but every time I walk up to one and the slingshot's not working or a pop-upper is firing.
When I'm here, I walk around and I see Chuck basically resetting games that people walked away from. That's a big part of owning an arcade, I'm sure.
Either that or just a little pissed I have to fix something else again. But I hate to play a game when I know something's broke. People are nice enough here to come tell us when games are broke. Of course, we're going to roll our eyes at you and tell you there's 124 other games to play. We're not being mean, but I mean, when you have this many games, there's always something going to be broke.
But to give you props, I mean, all these games are in great condition. I mean, you guys have got to be working around the clock on these things.
You would think, but we really don't. I mean, they've really, with the new parts that are available and just keeping on a good maintenance schedule, which we haven't done, which we've started to do now. We were talking about flipper rebuilds earlier.
Yeah, I think you said you spent like $3 grand on flipper repair kits.
Yeah, just in 2 rows of Sterns, which would be around right around 30 Sterns. Average cost per game is anywhere from about 75 to 90 bucks. And if you have to replace a coil or something else in the game, it'd get up to be 120 bucks. But we did all those in 2 weeks. And over the next 3 weeks, we spent time doing all the rest of these games. So all flipper rebuilds, slingshot inspection, all the rubbers we could get to. And now we're just pulling games back. Every Wednesday, we pull another game in, get it chopped out, complete tear down, ramps clean. But luckily for us, we've done this stuff professionally for 20 years. And most of the games we've already cleaned are really pretty clean to begin with. So, it takes us 3 hours what used to take us 20 hours.
Nice. Davey, do you have a question?
I was just going to say, so you're talking about a maintenance schedule there. So you're preemptively changing the flippers on all these games based on a timeline that you say, okay, so modern Stern, get it in here. It'll be a year's worth of play before I'll need to change out the flippers on it. And so you write in a logbook or something to record all that information?
No, we're just going to go by dates, to be quite honest. It's going to be easier for us just to run through them all at one time. I mean, all Stern games get about 3,000 games, and the flippers get some play in them. They've had a problem with stops for years, so we usually find that out right away when the flipper gets jammed. But the cost of, I had it added up earlier. It's about $25 or about $30 for a set of Sterns, and you could do Williams for around 18.
Yeah.
And you don't have a problem with stops, and those mechanisms just last longer. I mean, you can go 6,000, 8,000 games, you don't get the slop in them. And I think it's just bad hardware from China. I mean, all bolts and nuts are made in China, and it's just a combination of that and the plastic. And the Sterns are getting a ton more play. I mean, they're just fun games.
Yeah.
The rules are great. People understand them. I mean, we all love the classic Fishtails game, but when you come here, you'll play something besides Fishtails.
Yeah.
So we got John Wick. You've had it for a couple days.
Yeah, had it for about a week.
Any feedback so far?
Actually, I hate every new game that comes out, especially from Stern. Pro. I know the code's not there. Hated Jaws. Hated Venom. But I actually like it, and I didn't think I'd like it. I saw the artwork. I thought it was cheesy.
Yeah. The multi-balls are really intense. I mean, it feels very early still too. But I mean, early, and it's going to be. It's got a good vibe. Yeah. Gomez, coming through. I would say again, I certainly enjoyed it from like the first couple of days more than Jaws myself.
Well, the same with like Bond. When it came out, just wow, it was just terrible. And then and it's tough for me because I'll get the game in and I'll play a ton for about 3 weeks, really learn the game. And I don't play again, and then 5 months later the code's finished, and I'm getting beat by 9-year-olds, during league. So
you don't know how it works anymore because the code's all changed, I guess, as well.
No, the code's all changed.
But so a lot of the people watching are either buying mods or they make mods. This show we're going to kind of dedicate to some of the mod makers, talk about what you could do. We're actually going to take some measurements. There's been an early dialogue around the comparison for mod makers to like Jaws, which was an Elwin title, and it's like Godzilla was huge for mod makers. Like that was kind of a no-brainer, and you're seeing that many mods already. Whereas with Wick, we might think it's not selling well. In some cases, people know it's not selling well. Any thoughts on how it's doing so far, and like just your opinion on this choice of a title?
Probably a little late.
Yeah.
I mean, the movies have been out for 15 years. I mean, John Wick, 1. I think most everything I've seen in the code is pretty much from John Wick 3. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not really paying that much attention to it. I mean, the game flows good. The shots are good. I really enjoy how to light the different houses or get your contracts. You got to bang that bumper on the side 3 times. Got to kind of put your mind to it a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you start flailing around on it, it's going to make you pay.
Yeah. I mean, it's got a lot of really cool lighting, and obviously lighting is a big mod, so there might be some really neat things to augment there.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's terrible for me is, so I know there's a Pro. I know I'm going to get it when it comes out, so my customers going to enjoy it. I know I'm going to get the LE or the Premium, and I never look at it.
Yep.
I never go and look at the website. I never go and see what toys I get with it.
Well, I know you said you had to finally kind of cut it off, right?
Yeah.
There's too much stuff.
Yeah. Well, when you asked me to come in and talk about mods and toppers, I'm like, I'm the last guy you can talk to. I got 150 pinball machines. I don't buy nothing.
But he's got the glass off, so he's letting us dream about him having them eventually. So you got an LE coming, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. There's a couple LEs here. You got an LE Jaws. You got an LE Rush. I know you love Rush.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Grew up, graduated in '85, 1982, Moving Pictures album. My brother was a big Rush fan, so I pretend to be a bass guitar player, and me and some old hacks get together, and we play in a Rush tribute band downstairs at the Atomic Pinball Arcade, just to a select few. We don't want to embarrass ourselves.
Yep.
But yeah, we had a lot of fun with it, and I was super stoked when the Rush Pinball came out. And again, the first time I played the Pro, I was pretty bummed. Until they got the 1, 2, 3 going, and then things started to pick up. And wow, what a game!
Nice. Well, Chuck, thanks so much for having us, guys. Come and check it out. Atomic Pinball in Woodriver. If you're coming through town, this is a must-stop location. You've got tons of classics. You've even got some more EMs coming in. You've got all the new stuff and LEs for a lot of stuff that you might not have seen before.
And we have lots of not pinball stuff. So if you have somebody with you that's not really into it, we got skee ball, we got shooting games, we got tons of video games, probably over 4,000. It's $20 to get in. Everything's free. You never need to put a quarter in, and I get you 4 hours worth of free play.
Awesome, Chuck. Thanks, man.
You bet. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All
Thanks,
right,
Chuck.
man.
See you,
Dave,
man.
you gonna come to the States and check this bad boy out?
Mate, I'm gonna have to, aren't I? Make it another trip over to the States. More so than the two that I already make over every year. I'll have to run it past the wife though. I think it's already a bit of a stretch, the two that I do.
Wow.
But,
It's like 6 hours
I'd
from
love to,
Chicago. So 6 hours from Chicago. So
road
maybe one
trip.
day.
Road trip. Mate.
So we got a packed schedule. We're going to be talking a little bit more about Wick. We're going to size up Wick and Elton and Pulp, which are behind me. Do a little bit of a close up, and then we're going to do a little topper edition of It's a Mod World. We're going to be talking about the Foo topper from Raiden Mods, which is a really nice alternative to the factory topper. We're going to talk a little bit about the Alien topper controversy, and I don't know. We'll figure something else.
What's something
out
else?
in there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pull up my second cam here. What are you feeling on Wick? Like, I know you're hearing these things and telling me. Do you have a similar feeling?
Well, first of all, you've been at Atomic Pinball today, right? So you've had a couple of games on Wick. Yeah.
Yeah, I played it. So there's 5 of these things in St. Louis. I will definitely say it's making its way as far as pros on location, which is good. I gotta say, man, I really like the action. I mean, I'm realizing I basically had to like Jaws because we all have to give it a chance. But this, in my first 5 plays, I'm liking a lot. I think the lighting of it's awesome. The display and the video is the whole thing is film noir. I don't know if you remember Max Payne and this black and white noir grunge, but the back display is very classy. The green lights and on the slings and on the city is something that a lot of us do to our pinball machines anyway. And I feel leaning into that even more is a unique opportunity for people. I mean, I think there's going to be some people that really love this game, kind of like Venom owners who just swear by it. You're gonna see that for sure with this game. I would guess.
Yeah. Look, when we saw the initial sort of leaks and things, I thought they'd made a bit of a blunder with the artwork and stuff. But when the full reveal came out and we saw, particularly the LE, I mean, the LE I think just looks absolutely gorgeous. Just in terms of sort of the color choices that they've used. I do think the playfield looks really good. When you see it as a whole, I think the colors really pop. I think the neon works really well. I think it's lit really well. In the streams the other day, I think probably one of the biggest standouts for me is how it sounds. I think the sort of the synth wave orchestration that they've got going on is just banging, and the sound effects too. There's a real sort of action type sound effects, bullets flying and people getting punched or whatever it is, but it's really tense and it feels very adrenaline packed. Based on the stream. Quite often you watch those streams and I find it really hard to watch pinball on YouTube for any extended period of time because I just prefer playing it. I don't enjoy watching it that much.
I mean, there's three super accessible multi-balls, and I hope you get to play it soon. It's that intensity that you talk about with the lights and the sounds. There's a lot of sound effects from Rush in there, so if you like some of their dings and stuff, you're going to hear that. It's poppy, kind of like Bond is, where you're got the ball coming back at you really quick. I'm feeling like Jaws has these long pathways, and this one has some combinations. The shots are tight too. The center shot, which is typically for Stearns, wide freaking open, is a tight shot, and it's an important shot. So definitely.
Mate, I did notice this on the initial reveal. So it's that shot up into the club, with the pops and stuff.
Yep,
Or the
yep.
single, the trapped pop. That shot looks really tight through the drop target. And the shot to the right of the car, once the car moves, looks really tight as well. So that was a concern for me. And then there's a couple of other concerns as well in the stream, like there looks to be a lot of straight down the middles from the club as well. I don't know. I haven't been.
That's probably a leveling issue because there's a little thing in there that makes it kind of kick out. I kind of like the tight shots. I mean, like someone who struggled with Jurassic and then fell in love with it, I feel like there's a lot of satisfaction of finally getting these shots down and hitting them. So I definitely wouldn't necessarily equate that to a problem quite yet.
Yeah.
But they are tight for sure.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's tight and there's tight, isn't there? And I think that if the geometries, that is the most intelligent thing I've ever said, isn't it? I just lost my headphone. But you know what I mean? Like, in terms of clunkiness, what I mean is if the geometry is right in the game, then a tight shot you can dial in and it will be smooth. But if a shot's getting rejected all the time or it's rattling or whatever, then that can just lead to an annoying game. So
as a Jaws owner, and I hope you've got to play it more than 5 times since we
I've been playing it loads.
I mean, I think that's a clunky game for a couple of reasons. I mean, do you find it to be clunky as an owner?
Yeah, no, I do, yeah. And I've got to say, I don't love it. I think it's a good game. I think it's a solid game, but it's not like, it's not blowing my mind for sure. Like the, and the sort of the right flipper, that you sort of trap up and then try and get it in the harpoon shot and stuff. That shot is incredibly difficult to hit. Like even from a trap, I can't hit it most of the time, And so you're trapped up and it's a timed shot. And I swear to God, I'm doing the same timed shot every time and I'm just keep missing it. So, there's the real shot, which can be quite clunky. Probably the nicest shot is that center one with the horseshoe sort of loop back ramp. That's the sweetest shot for sure. And I do enjoy the wave ramp as well. Like hitting that and getting it up to the top playfield is really satisfying when you nail it. But I find quite a lot of the other shots quite difficult.
Well, I got to give Alec some credit. He's I've talked about him and some of his machines. He's a big fan of precision flipper stuff, and he was kind of questioning today if maybe like replacing the bushings might allow you to hit that shot that goes up to the top a little bit better. I know like on Godzilla, that left shot has a similar clunk, but it nicely feeds to a flipper, which like kind of gives you that payout. Whereas on this one, it's just like dribbling down in the middle. So maybe if you're into that type of thing, you give it a shot.
I am. I'm definitely into that type of thing. I've got some of John's flippers ready to go for Jaws because when we hung out at Expo, I bought a set of nice blue ones off him specifically for Jaws. And as I showed on the show the other week, I've got his spinny reel mod for both the upper and the lower, plus the bushings and stuff. But it's just one of those things that I just haven't gotten around to fitting yet because you sort of need a good hour or two to sort of pull the playfield up and do all those kind of things. I will say this about Stern though, if anybody's tried to remove a spooky upper playfield before, then I've just got to give props to Stern for making their upper playfields like just the easiest, most non-hassle thing. And I've done it on Foo Fighters because obviously I needed to get under there to do various things for the Area 51 mod. And that was okay, it was pretty easy, but on Jaws, it's like 3 screws, man. It's like the easiest thing I've ever done in my life, and they've specifically done it for maintainability and repair. And credit to them, that's just some really, really fine engineering.
You put a playfield protector on your Jaws, didn't you? You took it apart.
How dare you? How dare you suggest? that I would ever do such a thing.
All right, so we're gonna you and I can talk about Jaws versus Wick another day, but the headline is you're not a big fan, which is going to hurt your bottom line. I have a feeling.
Yeah. Well, at least you know I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, totally. So we're going to start off with Wick. We're going to kind of format this. We're going to talk about some of the mods that are out there for these games, which is non-existent for Wick so far, I believe. But let's just kind of maybe tell me some of your initial thoughts on this bad boy as I kind of go through it, Davey. How's that sound?
Sure, man. Yep, sounds good.
As far as mod making opportunities.
Yeah, mod making opportunities. Yeah, sure. So, look, as soon as I saw Wick, as soon as I heard about Wick, the first thing that stood out to me was the aesthetic of Wick. Now, the Wick movies, really lean heavily into the sort of the Tokyo neon style, cityscapes. The three circle club, used great sort of color contrasts. Every sort of scene in Wick has these really great color compositions in it. And you can see that they've sort of thought about that when putting this playfield together. Now, the edge-lit acrylics at the back, particularly, and around the sling area and the inlanes and stuff, really stood out to me as the number one area of modability on this game. And I think a lot of people have sort of seen this as well. You'd have to be blind not to notice it. Now, what they've done here is really effective, just in the sense that they've been able to achieve a really great aesthetic result for not a lot of cost, really. Neon acrylic like this is relatively cheap. You just stick it under the existing plastics. The light from the bottom lights them up, and then they create this really great edge lighting effect that you can see there, and it looks like neon. So yeah, I mean, it is really effective. It is really good, but wouldn't it be awesome if we could do something more with that? By making some proper neon cityscapes, neon signs, make the three circle club neon a bit more realistic to the original sort of neon sign that's in the movies, that kind of thing. So I think the possibilities for those areas and around the sling areas and the inlanes as well, converting those sections into animated neons, that could, the typical thing like that I sort of tend to do on those kind of areas is, wait for the sling to get hit and then trigger a animation on the lights around those areas. But I think there's some really good opportunities there. Could you, if you've got the camera, Rob, go in on that center building there too.
Yeah,
I mean, that guy there.
It's pretty nice as is. I mean, it's got at least some depth here, like different from the Godzilla stuff. Like, it's not just a big molded piece of plastic.
Is it not?
Well, that's this core part, but it's got these ridges that are really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little better. I mean, obviously these are all primed for being replaced potentially. I mean, I would hate to see the green strip lost on it, but you got a ton of space in here to work with potentially.
Yeah.
You've got more space than Godzilla even had for sure with this building.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think with those neon buildings at the back, you wouldn't get rid of the neon green, but you'd just lean more into it, wouldn't you? So you'd sort of, I guess, replace those buildings, but then create neon signs that sort of go on them, or billboards or whatever, that then replicate that same color scheme, but then do more interesting things when the ball is around those areas. And I think like the three circle club sign that indicates the lock balls, that could be a ton better, couldn't it?
Oh yeah, and I know we're kind of debating whether or not the general mod community is going to jump in on this. I think there's a lot of different reasons to consider it, but I think that there's some low-hanging fruit here. I, of course, once I go with one maker, I'm probably going to want to see them through to the end because I feel like it's going to take them some time.
Yeah,
do
you would
all
need
these.
to.
And they would need to look similar, but I'm kind of mixed on these like 3D modeled or molded stuff sometimes, and I think this one there's potentially some stuff you can do to give this stuff depth without necessarily having to do a lot as a mod maker, which means you could probably get it to market a little faster too.
Yeah. Now you just touched on like an interesting subject, I suppose, which is are mod makers going to start making stuff for this? Because I think like for me, outside of, I mean, Jaws, I guess, had the theme where you could sort of go, okay, it's a nautical theme, so we could do boats and we can do buoys and we can do life rings and we can do water and all that kind of stuff. So it's got that kind of theme. But for just looking at Jaws when Jaws came out, I was sort of struggling to sort of think about where stuff was going to go and like you were saying earlier, there's not a lot of room in Jaws to put that stuff, even though it's quite spaced out. But in terms of there being open spaces to put things, there's not a lot. Whereas this is the opposite. Like, I see a ton of opportunity here. As you just pointed out, there's space to put it as well. But for all intents and purposes, the mod makers are staying away. Now, Swinks initially showed interest in that the center building that you were talking about that's kind of a better design than usual with the molding and stuff. And that makes a lot of sense to me because it's almost exactly the same type of building as he's just created for Ghostbusters. He's done you call it it's like a New York Flatiron building for Ghostbusters, and as soon as I saw that building, I was like, that looks exactly like his Flatiron building. So it wouldn't be a big effort for him to then just go into it. But I've since seen that he's sort of umming and ahhing about whether to get it as well. I've received numerous messages on Pinside from the other makers, like Tom T. Diddy and Chris C. Arcades, and I've been talking to Paul, Jazz Boosh in the UK, and John J at 5M, and so far everyone's holding off. And the main reason why that isn't the opportunities, because I think everybody sees the opportunities. It's that I think everybody's scared that the sales just aren't going to be there to support the R&D, which is a bit upsetting. And it's a bit shit, isn't it? Because it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy as well, isn't it? Because as soon as everybody starts getting cold feet, then that's the general consensus, and everybody's like, oh, it's not selling well, and so, the mod makers aren't jumping on, and Davey's talking about it on the show and stuff, and it's kind of like, it creates this thing where everybody just believes it's true, and I don't 100% know that it's true. All I've got to go on is, anecdotes from, friends here in the UK who are talking to the dealers, and dealers saying it was their worst opening day, in the last 10 years and things like that. Now, I hope that improves because, first time designer out of the gates, he deserves to have a win with this. I'm sure he's had a lot of sleepless nights over the gun gate stuff, and it's just sad to see anyone putting their heart and soul into something and getting that kind of stick. So, let's see. John Wick movies have a lot of
I can comment on this a little bit. I mean, I think, like we had Tom with Diddy on here last week or whatever, and it is tough for mod makers to kind of pick and choose their battles because anything you're working on comes at a cost of something else that could have been more successful. But one thing, I'm just getting this like really cool vibe from this game, and like I've never seen a John Wick movie. I could care less, but I'm a big pinball fan. I love the action. And I'm a fan of games like Guns N' Roses that are just like over the top visually. I mean, Elton John is just like a standout hit for me because that's what I'm looking for. And this comment with like laser lights, I mean, imagine like actually putting like a curved display into the windows of this thing. Kind of like what you have on Elton, where you could actually like show stuff in the windows. I mean, the laser lights and stuff like that, like you could really turn this into a light show. I mean, I would be more inclined to do it with the LE version, which I think looks awesome because it's got the stained glass, and I feel like the lighting and all that is like really there. but I would think you're going to have to do something, to make it work as a mod maker. You're probably going to need to like really lean into the game in its entirety to really make it pay out, which is obviously an even bigger risk for people.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, what do you do? Like, if you're a mod maker and you're like, no, I'm going to support this. I love John Wick. I've got some great ideas for it. I think it could be a real hit. Then, what do you? I mean, if you're doing it commercially too, and not just for fun. If you're doing it for fun, great, whatever. Like, go nuts. But if you're doing it commercially and you've got mouths to feed or whatever, then I guess, when do you make the choice to go after a game like this that potentially has lower sales? Do you put your prices up in order to cover that potentiality? And then just aim it for sort of the LE buyer market where the people who've got more money to spend? Like, for me, I wouldn't do that, because I'm always sort of trying to keep pricing at a certain level, just because that's the decision that I've made. So for me, I wouldn't sort of choose to make that decision unless it was, very well telegraphed that it was like a once-off or whatever, and that it wasn't going to be indicative of mods to come or anything like that. But it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because as we move through the other games as well, as we move through Elton and Pulp Fiction, they're sort of in the same boat. Not so much in terms of sales, because I think sales for Elton have been good, like really good for a JJP game. Probably, and again, I don't know the figures, but I would guess probably their best to date. Would you agree? Would Guns N' Roses
I mean,
maybe?
it's a lower volume, but it's like, I feel like the collectors of those games are going to be more passionate about them for different reasons. But they're all kind of in a similar boat in terms of like, all these games are subject to that same question of like, is it worth investing in it? I think most mod makers would have a really hard time like changing their price point drastically for one game, just because of they don't. It's just tough to like. It's always hard to price products, but it's really tough to like have super varying prices based on things like that.
Yeah, and how do you justify that? Oh, it didn't sell that well. I'm not going to sell as many of these, so I'm going to make it twice as much. Like, people would be like, but I don't think that would go down very well, and probably rightly wouldn't go down very well. It's a really tricky one. Look, I hope that more mod makers do go after these weird titles, and I think JJP is a typical one. As soon as a Stern comes out, they always get the most mod love, just because of those sales figures. When you are searching, I was doing a bit of a search recently for Elton John mods before the show and stuff, and I'd seen a couple already, so it was just a case of trying to track them down. But there's 2 or 3, and they're all things like shooter rods and all the typical stuff. Rather
Let's
than
talk about
these
Elton.
big stand-up pieces. Yeah, man, let's do it.
Yeah, so Elton is, I consistently hear great feedback on this game. It hit like number 2 on Pinside, and you can debate whether or not you think anything about Pinside rankings, but it hit 2 and then it got kicked back down because everyone hated on it, but now it's back up to 6. So like people are still loving this thing. It's a visual delight. I was talking with James here at ATOMIC, and it's like, for sometimes it's just about how much do you like all that like over the topness, which this game has a lot in it already. I mean, it feels like it's been modded already to some degree, because it's got so much visually going on. Not everybody on the stream has seen this in detail, so let's take a look at it. I know you like this game, Davey.
Mate, I love it.
Initial comments on it.
I would love to get one, mate. I would. Why do I like it? That's the key question, isn't it? Why do I like it? Like, when Elton John was announced as JJP's next game, or even prior to that, when the rumours were circulating that it was JJP's next game, I couldn't have been less interested in a theme. Elton John for me is fine. I like Tiny Dancer as a song. And I've been caught singing it drunk more than once. But Elton John is not high on my list of artists. I wouldn't have a single song of his on any of my playlists. So in terms of the theme, hitting any interest levels for me. It was just non-existent. And then the reveal came out at Expo, and again I was just like underwhelmed. Really, I didn't think it looked very interesting. The piano and the animatronics that they used I thought was great, and the wraparound LED screen I thought was really interesting, particularly from a technical point of view. It never really been done before to that degree, and I sort of was interested in sort of doing something like that myself, as you saw in the Jaws buoy. But the game itself sort of looked a bit sort of typical and a bit run of the mill, and it was only when I played it that I sort of realised how fun it was. Really, it's just just really, really good fun, and it looks incredible. The artwork, the different artworks they've got on both of those versions of the game. They're both amazing. You'd have either one of them. They're bright and they're wild and they're colourful and they're campy.
The action's really awesome, but I mean, like Jersey Jack's always done great with their screens, but this thing is like constantly like flowing with the game. I mean, there's just like, I don't know if a lot of people know, but there's just like contraption that comes out of the interface at the top, and whenever you select something, it spins, and like it feels like it's always coming together. And I have a hard time not looking up sometimes, just because I feel like it's like just so much fun. And of course we've got now this better flipper system, and it shoots fast, and I mean I'm happy to see them getting love, because you could say Pinside doesn't matter, but like Toy Story is at number like 60 because it's a number 60 game, and Elton John's at 4 because it's a 4 game. It's just like I don't care if you don't like it.
No, I mean I feel like just everything just came together for them. And I've said this before on the show, I'm sure, but or I've said it so many times to different people, so forgive me, but I feel like when JJP does pinball, they just throw everything at it in terms of color and lights and over-the-topness. Like they're a camp company, just the way that sort of Jack gets around the shows, dressed up in themes and stuff. Like they just love all that stuff. They love, the spectacle, and it shows in their games. And so when you've got that kind of aesthetic applied to Godfather, it just clashes really badly, But when it gets applied to a game like Elton John, like it's a match made in heaven, right? So and I guess I didn't really sort of put that together in my head until I saw Elton John, and it was like rainbow LEDs and everything like they usually do, but it obviously works really, really well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I would seek it out if you can. So, are there any mods for this thing?
Yeah, I think so. Let's are there any mods? Yeah, let's there are a couple. So let's quickly roll through what there is at the moment. Now, Mezzle mods have done your typical flipper topper thing. They're like feather wings or whatever, which are fine. I don't know. Are you a flipper topper guy, man?
I got them on bond with a 007. Not usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
but if there weren't this for it, then we'd have a serious problem. So I'm glad we checked that.
Yeah. Well, this is okay. So I would never usually. I'm sorry, watchers of the show. I would never usually put a flipper topper on the show, just because. Not that I'm not sure. I'm not saying anything bad about Mezzle or anything like that. But it's just it tends to be one of those things that just like. There's always about 50 flipper toppers, there's always about 50, shooter rods and whatever. And it tends to be, you can just sort of, it's a little bit cookie cutter in my opinion. And, no disrespect to people who love it and stuff, but, but this just goes to show how few and far between the mods are for Elton. Now, this is a top 2 game or a top 6 game on Pinside at the moment. Now, regardless of whether it deserves to be there or not, it's there at the moment, which means it's getting notoriety, it's getting a lot of love, it's probably getting a lot of sales, especially in comparison to sort of other JJP titles. So the comparison between, we dedicated like 3 shows to Jaws mods, didn't we, bro? So
yeah, pretty much.
and we three shows, and like, look, I've got I've literally got 3 tabs for Elton. Now, our lovely mate Andy from Rocket City has done some start buttons for Elton as well. He's done some start buttons that are kind of sparkly and stuff, so they look nice. And then we've got...
You better come with something hitting harder than those two. Come on. Okay, here we go.
And then we've got Elton John shooter rod, which is nice. If you want to put a head on your shooter rod.
We can usually depend on Lior, like he's, kind of gone off the map.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
So with Toy Story, at least you could spend $2,000 on stuff if you wanted. In this case, you can't even spend any money on it, is what you're telling me?
Yeah. There's nothing, man.
Okay.
There's nothing.
Okay.
So Lior's gone underground. Now, whether that's been part of his business deals with Dutch, and I don't think that it is. I think that Lior is open to do whatever he likes still. I think the relationships that he's got with Dutch and with Pinball Brothers are fairly open-ended in that regard. But I don't know that for definite. I do know that he's been going through some personal stuff over the last 12 months as well that I've heard through the grapevine. So, much love to Lior. I hope he gets through that. And obviously his country's going through turmoil as well. So that's probably why we've seen less of him than we usually would have. But yeah, like you say, like a JGP title comes out and Lior's usually all over it. And I would have thought that Elton would have been sort of right up his alley. Particularly sort of after all the sort of Toy Story stuff we saw that was really, frivolic. Very colourful and fun, and I think that would lend itself really great to Elton's styling. So the fact that he's chosen to stay away from that and stay away from all pinball modding except for the contract-based stuff is, it's interesting. So I wish him all the best. I hope it's not because all the personal stuff or country stuff that he's got going on at the moment.
Well, let's move on. But so we found like one obvious thing with John Wick. Is there any? Look at the ceiling.
I think so, man. Shall I tell you the one
obvious?
thing? Yeah. The sign at the back left.
Sign at the back left. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh well, of course. I mean, it's your flavor right there.
Yeah.
That's all you, baby.
Yeah, that's me, man. That's me all over. Sign replacement.
You gonna sell 2,000 of those like you did?
Sure, man. I'll take it. If people want to buy 2,000 of them off me, then by all means. Look, I think that to me, that sign is probably the one lacking area in the whole game. Like, it's just not as.
I've never even noticed it before. Which
exactly. Never even noticed it. So, probably what I would do is I would sort of take it back more in the star sort of area. So make each of those lights that are on it more like stars, and then kind of animate the outline of a neon star or something like that, or do something a bit more fun with it, because that to me looks like a Toy Story sign, not an Elton John sign.
Whoa. Crazy camera action.
There you are.
All right, cool. Well, we got that one. All right, someone can note there. All right,
Yeah.
so Pulp. Pulp is a different game, I think. Like, if Elton is maybe people are excited about, Pulp, I feel like should have some mods. Does it?
It should definitely have some mods, mate. And look at this. Boo. Oh, yeah.
Oh god! All right, I'm getting sick.
We can do this all day. No, mate. It's got one mod. It's got one mod, really.
One mod. Yeah. I mean, I've talking to some folks in non-US markets. I feel like this game has a lot of hype. People are really excited to get it. I feel like there's a lot of international markets that are getting it. I found like it's interesting as a mod maker to see which products do well in international markets, because that's a revenue source that you're either going to get or you're not going to get. And like with Godzilla, I saw a lot less of that, whereas with like Twilight Zone and Lebowski, I saw a lot more. And I think it's about like if you're willing to bring this product through all the costs that are involved with getting it out of the country, you may be that more inclined to, take the leap on mods for it if they're within the theme. So I definitely feel like there's a good potential here. But yeah, you're not finding much here either, huh?
No, there's not. Shall I let's just quickly show what there is. So this is Mezzle Mod's latest effort. They reckon so this is a pawn shop replacement, where they've replaced a static UV printed acrylic that represents the pawn shop to make it a bit more accurate to the movie. I'm not keen on it.
This violates a lot of things that I consider when buying a mod.
Tell me.
they're looking at me and laughing. It's a wall. It's a wall.
Yeah, do you feel violated? Yeah.
I mean, look, but okay, let's back up a minute. They're adding this as a category on their site. They're giving people options. I mean, look, no one else is doing it. You can only invest so much into these things, apparently, as us mod makers are telling each other. But I mean, like, it's funny. Like, I have so many collector friends as you do too.
Yeah.
And it's all about blocking views, right? Like, if anything blocks a view, it's just a non-starter,
non-starter,
and that's my issue.
Sure.
That's my issue with this one.
Yeah. So look, Mezzle Mods fulfills a particular price point in the pinball modding industry. Yeah. So they are generally cheaper than everybody else, and they usually get their stuff first to market as well. It's always 3D printed in-house. With minimal painting, and this is what you get for that. Now, I sometimes get stick from people from time to time about price points. I'm sure you do too, Rob. That's just the way that it goes with these kinds of things, and that's fine. Like, if people don't want to pay the prices that I charge for my stuff, then there's other options for you, and this is the other option. Now, I'm not going to charge Mezzlemod's prices for doing what I do, because there's a lot more stuff that goes into mine, and that's fine. We're fulfilling different market needs, but this is what you get for that price point, and it's a tricky one. Like, so Pulp Fiction in general, we can take it off that now, man. It's gonna spoil my vibe.
Okay.
Now, Pulp Fiction is a hard one, right? So,
I want to say one more thing about Mezzle, because I hate to talk crap. So, my first mods were Mezzle mods, and what I loved about that was it was something that got me excited about my machine. Right? It's like getting in there, spending a little bit of money, getting to feel comfortable getting in there, and some of their stuff is nice. That one in particular was a little off for me. Is there anything else? Is there anything else for Pulp?
Mate, that's it. So
okay.
So full disclosure, I'm planning on working on the pawn shop as well, and I think there's a ton of potential for that pawn shop. I've posted a little bit of stuff in the Pulp Fiction thread with what my sort of ideas are. There's a ton of neon in the shop window. There's some neon inside the shop itself. So there's some really great opportunities for that pawn shop to be a bit more exciting than what it is at the moment. But there's also a huge risk there too, right? Like, that pawn shop's tricky because it's communicating 5 different game elements. It's got the 3 lock lights. And then it's also got 2 other mode lights as well. I think there's one that's a rev meter, and one that communicates something about the basement, I think. There's that arrow, and then there's also this one sort of bottom right, which communicates some kind of, revving power thing or whatever. So there's so with whatever you do with that, it still needs to communicate that information effectively, and that's using up a ton of real estate. So let's say I sort of came in here and I wanted to do some kind of, resin neon thing, a bit like in the Tokyo Neon style. There's two complexities there. One, it has to communicate those 5 elements effectively still, and use up that real estate. And the other thing it has to do is it has to remain in keeping with the game. Now, when this game came out initially, and we saw the first playfield pictures of it, I couldn't quite believe it. I was like, what have they done? Like, it looked ugly to me. We saw the gun, and I think there was some like playfield multipliers out the gun thing. It looked like a game from like the early 80s. It looked like sort of RoboCop era sort of playfield art. And it was only, we talked about this a lot, didn't we, when we were sort of hanging out at TPF 2 years ago, and everybody was kind of saying the same thing. Like, it was only when you saw it, in the flesh, all together, with the, the old school door and the old school shape of the cab and the translight being, this really sort of, like, it was all intentional. What they'd done with the aesthetics, and then we heard the stories about how Quentin nixed any idea of using the original movie artwork on it, and they'd sort of gone in this direction intentionally. Now, because that was such an intended aesthetic choice, you've got to remain in keeping with that aesthetic choice, and I think that's going to be really tricky to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see this. I mean, it's already a wall, so I'll walk back my wall comment a little bit. Man, there's a lot going on with that one. To kind of sing your praises of this game, I think for whatever lack of screen there is, they've done some really interesting things with the lights and the sound effects. This is just a great home title. But it is so aesthetically well executed, in my opinion, that you do have to be really careful whenever you're making mods or buying mods with keeping up with that. But cool, man. So you're gonna get on the list, huh?
Yeah. One other thing we should talk about though too, right, is the topper for Pulp Fiction, right? That topper was only, the Pulp Fiction topper. I mean, it's awesome, right?
Oh yeah.
Like one of the best toppers I've seen, to come with a game, ever. I think it's so iconic. A brilliant idea, well executed. It just absolutely blew me away when I saw it for the first time. Now that's only on the LE, and it's not going to be made available separately. At least at the present moment, the only way you can get that topper is by being on the list for one of the LEs, and the LEs are sold out, and they're not available anywhere, and no one's selling their spots. Now, if somebody recreated that topper, then they will sell a bucket load. Now, whether they'll be able to do that and execute it without being sued is another story altogether. But there has been talk of people, considering doing that, just because because there's a lot of people that want them.
Yeah. I mean, you got the same thing with like Attack and Medieval Madness, these $3,500 toppers now, which you would be kind of dumb to sell them to separate the kit because they're great toppers. So I hadn't heard about people remaking it. I wish that wouldn't happen. Frankly, but
I don't know what's happening either, man. But, this is the thing, isn't it? Like I managed to pick up an LE, so I've got one with the topper, and I'm really happy about that. So I don't want the secondary ones to hit the market either. But so the Batman '66 topper. With the two, Batman and Robin heads.
Very nice topper.
In the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Lovely topper. Somebody's making those as well, right? Have you seen the recreations of those? And they're not as good.
No, I haven't.
They don't look as good. But I think this is the thing, isn't it? Like if an LE pinball machine, there's no way anybody's going to be capable of remaking that. But an LE topper, particularly one like the Batman 66 one, I mean, essentially all somebody needs to do is just, work out the molding and the printing, and I think it sort of had a bat signal as well, so if they could work that element out, then they can recreate it, and that's exactly what's happened. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Pulp Fiction one in that regard, because I think that if there's a market there, then people will, try and fill it. That's an upsetting thing, but it's probably the reality.
Yep. All right, well, we are running out of time. I think we're going to have to go over on this one. We got a couple mods to talk about. Thank you again to Atomic for giving us a shot at these guys. I threatened to get out my calipers and measure some stuff for you. If there's any mod makers that want to know like exact measurements, hit me up. I'm over here all the time, so we can check it out. So, Davey, we got some content posted, but let's hit this back. Are you pumped? Are you pumped?
So professional. I love it. Keep it coming, man. Keep it coming.
Thank you for the body of work that is Fiverr. All right, what do we got here?
Okay, man. So quickly, let's touch on the controversy that was.
Oh yeah, this is the topper edition of It's a Mod World, right?
Yeah. Topper edition of Mod World. This week, big news has been that people have started to receive their Alien toppers for the Pinball Brothers remake of Alien. Now, the Alien topper was originally shown in, when was it shown? So that would have been Expo. I think it was shown at Expo, probably 8 months or so ago. And it was a beautiful looking topper. Now, I know that we talked a little bit about the topper at the time, and you weren't that keen on it, Rob, when it first was shown originally for various reasons. There it is there. So this is the one that was Expo, wasn't it, that they showed this for the first time? Am I right in saying that? It wasn't...
Yes, it was on the table, and then at TPF they had it up on top. Yeah,
actually on top. Yeah, got it. So this was at Expo. They were showing it off there for the first time. The story was so this was just when sort of all the shit was going down in Israel. I think this is a topper by Lior and his team at the Art of Pinball. And the story was that Lior managed to get this finished in time for Expo. He drove it to the airport himself and put it on a plane himself in order to get it to Expo in time to show off. Now, obviously, he's probably done a lot of work on this himself. It was probably hand painted. It wasn't showing off any of the lighting effects at that time. It was just sort of lit in pretty much this way on the table. But obviously, it's beautifully painted, a lot of detail in the Queen coloration there that you can see, and it was hand painted. So it's when you go from sort of hand painted to production, there's always going to be some changes. Possibly they farmed out some of that work. But the big controversy this week was that people started to receive their Alien toppers, and they looked significantly different in the paintwork than what the prototype did. Now, some people were kicking off more than other people, and there was a secondary element to the controversy in that there were no install instructions shipped with the mod, and it was all in pieces. So, there's a fair amount of assembly involved in putting these things together, and people basically had to guess how to do it. Now,
can you show that picture? Can you show that picture of it in pieces? Do you have that? Because I thought that I didn't know that was serious. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah, let me see if I can
pieces.
pull it up, man.
Is it that very first one? You're gonna get into some weird stuff going that route.
I know, man.
Guns?
Let's check this out.
Well,
so look, this is an interesting one. This is the screws that I think were left over. Well, maybe not left. So these were the screws.
It couldn't have been left over. There's no way.
No, it could be left over. But no, honestly though, Ant H, one of the blokes who received one of these toppers this week, he was fine with the color changes. He didn't have a problem with that. But he did have a problem with the install instructions. I think this is the number of screws that were in. So essentially, you have to work it all out for yourself. Now, let me just preface all of this stuff that we're saying by saying that Pinball Brothers sent out an email to everybody within 24 hours apologizing for the mistake and saying that they were going to rectify it by sending out instructions and things like that. So they were on it in terms of the comms after the fact. But it's still a pretty big ball drop, I think, to send out something of this complexity at this price point, and to miss the install instructions. So yeah, we've got, I think that one there might have been the screws left over at the end. And where's the one that came in the box? It was actually pretty nice packaging, actually. I think you can see that's sort of how it came. I mean, look at the paintwork on that, man. That is really good. Okay, so
yeah, and I heard a lot of it was magnetic, so I guess maybe the install wasn't as bad. We got at least one positive comment. I mean, I know as a maker of toppers, like the lighting, you have to consider during the day and the night, and you kind of a little bit have to pick like which one you want to prioritize for. I wish, looking at it, I would have been a little frustrated to see that the arms were a different color than the body.
Yeah.
But if people are happy with it, probably some learning across the board on this one for everybody.
Yeah, look, now, I mean, I was disappointed in the paint. I don't have an Alien, I don't have one of these on order, so I don't have a horse in the race, but I thought that the paint work, if I'd have bought it, I would have been disappointed in it. But having said that, as soon as the first videos came in of it lit up with the lighting and stuff, like it looked beautiful, it looked amazing. I don't think that anybody is going to be noticing sort of those kind of nuances once it's sort of up there and being used, because it did look beautiful, and full credit to them for knocking it out of the park with the lighting and the light shows and stuff. So look, I think if you are on the list of one of these, don't worry about it. Like, I think what you said, Rob, in terms of needing the paint to be complementary to whatever light shows you've got going on is a really important one. And I know that I've made stronger color choices for things like the noodle bar for those exact reasons. You make it too realistic and pared down, and it doesn't work in the harsh lighting conditions of the pinball machine.
Yeah. So we got a $2,000 topper come from Stern recently for Foo. And if you want to save a couple bucks, there's a pretty awesome, I think a little bit under the radar topper from Raiden Mods, who doesn't operate too much on Pinside, but this thing is pretty cool on a number of levels. Let's get a look at that.
Yeah, so he mostly works on Etsy, doesn't he? As we've said a couple of times before, we always show his mods on the show because he's a very talented dude, obviously, and always does quality stuff. He's done a bunch of stuff for Foo Fighters. We've shown his UFO that is for the left middle ramp. He's also done sort of control panels and things for around there. He's done a bunch of stuff for Godzilla as well. He does quite a lot of mechanical animation from time to time. Look at this. So this is so cool.
I mean, it comes with the remote.
Yeah, comes with the remote, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like the Foo Fighters bomb, essentially. And you know what, man? I think it looks great.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's completely different. I think he's got two other amazing mods. I'm not saying you need them, but I think it just kind of like lends well to this package. And I think it's smart on his part to basically, he's got that built-in fan base for those other mods, and some of them are gonna go for this. So very, very well done.
Yeah, indeed. Well done, mate.
All right, well, that's it on toppers. I've got a little fun piece of content to share with you guys as we close this out. We got our manual out on our Lebowski topper on time, but our install video came a little bit later. Alex from Empire Pinball put together, and he sent me this video, and he's like, watch it till the end, there's an Easter egg. So this is just a little bit of blowing our own horn, so to speak. You're going to see the Lebowski topper, but listen to the music. Alex is I think his full-time job is he does audio production for different people, and he put together this cool flick. So Davey, thanks, man. This has been a great show. We're gonna end it with this.
Thank you, Rob.
Appreciate all your inputs. He doesn't like his jaws, folks. I don't know what to say. I mean,
no, it's not that I don't like. Whoa! It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I'm not blown away by it.
That's the headline. Sorry, it's done.
Davey doesn't like Jaws.
All right,
done.
To Chuck and James, thanks again. Atomic Pinball. We will be back. You guys have a great show. Thanks for checking it out, and we'll see you. I think maybe it's going to be a little longer. We may have to skip a week coming up, but we've got some great stuff coming. So keep an eye out for episode 14. All right, signing off.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
He's checking out the new topper from the electric playground. It's looking real sweet. It's tying the pinball together. He's playing some pinball, collecting all of the characters and the bowling balls, following the status on the new topper. It's pretty sweet. This topper